This video is brought to you by my Patreon members over on patreon.com/habtunes. Thank you all for your support, and if you're interested in becoming a member, you can check the link in the description below. The artist community is mad sensitive. Whether you're online, in person, no matter your background, where you're from, or what industry you're in, specifically in the field of art, in the world of art, we are extremely sensitive people. Like, I don't know why, but we just are. And when it comes to this word gatekeeping, it sends us into this weird ass frenzy. Gatekeeping is mad dumb. It's a divisive term at best and problematic ideology at worst. Now, when it comes to protecting communities and traditions such as the Black community and our neighborhoods and our culture, that's a different story for a different day. Like, I feel like when it comes to that, that is a very different connotation. But when it comes to the art world and artists and art in general, I feel like we should want to share everything. Gatekeeping in the art community is OD harmful. It prevents the spread of knowledge. And when you prevent the spread of knowledge, you also prevent the growth of the artistic process and progress of so many artists in our community. It blocks the opportunities to alleviate the sufferings of humanity through the arts. Gatekeeping is just a tool of capitalism. And we all know that capitalism is an enabler of racism, classism, sexism, ableism, and just about any other prejudice you can think of under the sun. And to have the nerve to be a gatekeeper, to be this snobby art snob Scrooge person hoarding all this information, laughing at other people and telling them that they will never have what you have. To block off any opportunities just because you are scared of whatever is going to happen if someone has the same access as you. To be a gatekeeper is the antithesis of art. It is to betray the artist community and betray the essence of art itself. Art is supposed to be free, malleable, inspirational, and when used in the right place, the right time, with the right people in the right space, it can change lives. And it should be accessible. The tool should always be accessible. So when someone asks me, hey Hab, where did you get X? I tell them, I got it at Y and Z. Because for me, it ain't no thing. It's simple. If you want to know what I use, whatever brush or whatever thing I have, here's the link to it. I remember years ago, I was on the train. I was on like the J train going home from work. And there was this guy on the train sketching. And I sat next to him and I was like, just kind of checking out what he was doing. He noticed that I was looking and we had a conversation and he just gave me, I made a compliment about his pen and he gave me his pen. And I thought that was really dope because that's how it should be. It should be this openness to share and give, right? He didn't have to give me the pen. And since then, I've been using those pens. I love those pens. And I tell people about these pens all the time. And I share them out. I give them away sometimes. When I used to teach, I used to give them away to my students. Like, it was just how I felt it should be. A rising tide raises all ships. So for us to keep that locked in, again, is the antithesis of what art is. Also, really quick, shout out to Stephen Petronas. He was the artist that gave me the pen, and I've been following him ever since, and he's really dope. You should go check him out on Instagram. So I'm going to go into a little bit of a story because, unfortunately, even though I believe that gatekeeping is just a bunch of crap, some people just don't believe it is. There are some artists who actually think that it's okay to gatekeep and keep resources and tools away from people, and that art should not just be freely exposed and given out, which is like weird. Again, very weird to me. So I was on Threads. I'm very active on Threads, which is Meta's answer to Twitter X, or whatever you want to call it. And I posed a question. I like to just ask random things out, and usually we get like good conversations going on my page. And I asked to my fellow artists, the fellow art community, I said, do you believe that gatekeeping is beneficial in our space? And I got some really interesting responses. And I was curious because I noticed that gatekeeping has been a hot button topic for a while now, at least on the internet. Like, I don't think that a lot of these things that we argue and debate about on the internet translate into the real world, because those are like separate spaces, even though they're both incredibly important. But I think there are moments where like certain things are just like an online thing and certain things are just the in-person thing. But I digress. The conversation was going pretty well up until the point where this group of people, I don't know where they came from. I don't know if they were all together or they just kind of, I don't know, they were just in their feelings. But a few porcelain colored ogres stepped up to the plate and they were defending gatekeeping. It was really strange because they were like trying to really browbeat everybody into this bootstrap rhetoric. You know, like I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and I'm not going to share any, you know what I mean? That kind of vibe. And of course it was white people getting in their feelings about this. Of course it was white people having some sort of trepidation about free things and sharing. Who would have thought? And the craziest thing is that they were rude about it. They were disrespectful. As if I called them out by their name and told them that they were trash. And trust me, I didn't. I try to remain pretty civil online most of the time. Because, you know, black man, aggression, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't believe me, the post is still up and you can see everything as I'm saying it. The post is still up on my thread, so go check that out if you want to. I'll put a link in the description. You know what? For this video, I'm going to be a little petty. So from now on, we're going to refer to this group of people as the ogres. Just rock with that for me. All right. Thank you. Now, these ogres, they feel that, you know, because they've worked incredibly hard, that no one else should just easily have what they've attained and what they've earned, right? Climbing their way to this new plateau that they're on, whatever that plateau is, whatever that level of success is, basking in the rewards of drudging through the muck and mire of this crazy art world that we're in, because it is difficult. It is tedious. There is, you know, there are a lot of obstacles depending on what you are, who you are, how you identify yourself, et cetera, many different factors. They believe that, you know, what they've earned, again, cannot be just freely given out. Keep that in mind, because we got receipts, buddy boy. Okay. So one ogre in particular, we're gonna call her the ogreiest ogre of them all, the queen ogre. We're gonna call the queen ogre, and she took it upon herself to try and like actually personally disrespect me. She insulted me only because my follower count is lower than hers. She pointed out that on Instagram and Threads, I am like way lower than, you know, her, and I don't experience the same nonsense that her and her friends get when people are quote unquote nagging them in their DMs about things all the time, which, you know, it's whatever. Like, it's as if that's any indication of what my experience as an artist and my level of intelligence and what I'm talking about has anything to do with that. You know what I mean? Like the numbers to a certain degree don't mean anything. So this woman she was on some shit, man. I ain't gonna hold you. She was on some shit. I was trying really hard. I'm from Brooklyn. We don't play that, bro. Like, if you disrespect us, we're going to do the same thing in kind 10 times, right? But I was like, you know what? I'm a black man. She's a white woman. We're on the internet. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to keep it cool, keep it civil. So I stepped back, and fortunately for me, there were people on my side. There were some friends, there were some peers who stepped in and stepped up, who I will add are way more advanced than she is in their careers and their follower counts, by the way, which was interesting because she didn't lash out at them. I had at this point I was just like screenshotting everything because I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what was going on, so I started sharing some of my stories. So that's where like more people started like showing up, and like shout outs to all my really great peers and colleagues and friends who are just, it's very smart people who understood and understand what we're talking about here with gatekeeping. And back to this queen ogre lady, you know, like she kept throwing around this word entitlement and privilege and entitlement. If I'm showing all the screenshots on the screen right now, there's one where, or there might have been one where one of my friends was like, oh, a white lady called us entitled. That wasn't on my bingo card today. I was like, yeah, I was waiting for that to happen. Yeah, this conversation was just getting a little weird, and there was a lot of back and forth going on. This wasn't a conversation about taking things from their career. This wasn't a conversation about taking what you have specifically. It was about just freely and openly sharing resources and opportunities, right? Like, that's what it was about. It's not about like, oh, hey, give this person your tablet. You know, this is not a tablet, but you just go along with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like, give me your shirt off your back. I'm not saying that. That's not what this is about. But they took it that way. This wasn't about them, but they made it about them. They centered themselves. And that's typically what white people tend to do. So as they tried to steer this conversation and make it about them, I tried really hard to keep it on gatekeeping and its detriment to the art community. The liberation of knowledge and resources is what we advocate for. This is what we're talking about. It has nothing to do with your personal life. Hey, here's a list of grants. Hey, this is the site I found my brushes on. Hey, I read this book and this helped me understand the dichotomy of blah, 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 blah. It's a communal effort to push against the wave of capitalistic ideology and philosophy that only seeks to drain us individually, manufacturing this toxic animosity towards one another. But even still, even after smarter people, she just still went on. She wouldn't stop. So to protect my peace at one point, and also a friend suggested to me, shout outs to Rufus, told me to just block her. So that's what I did. Like, I was this close to cutting her ass, bro. Like, I was this close. I was like, there were so many things I could have said and could have done, but I was like, you know what? I want to take the high road. And that's when my friends told me that she still kept going because on Instagram, she made an entire video, a reel about me and about the subject. And I'm just like, what is the point of this? And I'm going to get back to, kind of talking on gatekeeping in a second. I just want to get through this little story. This is a little off script. I wrote a script. This is a little off script. So she makes the video, and then after I blocked her, she gets people to follow me. I think about 3 or 4 different people, maybe 5 different people started to follow me. It stopped after a while, after the 5th person. I started blocking those people too. But she's getting people to follow me and like my posts and look at my stories. And I'm just like, you got a whole black husband in your house. You have 27,000 followers on Instagram. If you're so big and bad and important, and you're like this really amazing person doing so well with themselves in their artistic career, why are you bothering me? Why are you so obsessed with me? Is it the beard? What is it, the braids? That's when I realized, like, this woman is terminally online, bro. Like, the behavior and the demeanor was like mad childlike for no reason. If these numbers are so important to you and you're doing so well and this, that, and the third, then why are you making like posts about being poor all the time? Why are you making these sad little posts to you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing with your life? You know what I'm saying? You try to put me down, but you over here like posting about struggling and having a hard time. Make it make sense. You got 27,000 followers, but you're talking about all these issues. Make it make sense. Because like at the end of the day, like, what is the harm in sharing knowledge and resources with one another? Like, sure, the market may be saturated. Sure, everybody's going to want to do something. Everybody's going to want to create. Everybody's going to want to be the next so-and-so, have a podcast, start illustrating, do animation, make prints, do VR, whatever the case may be. Everybody's going to want to do something. Everybody's going to want to express themselves. But so what? Isn't that the point of art? Isn't that the point of creativity? For everybody to have that opportunity and ability to express themselves how they see fit? Isn't that the point? To have access to the same tools? Isn't that the point? Let's put on our imagination caps real quick. I want you to visualize something with me. Imagine what hip hop would look like. Imagine what music would look like if the blackout, the New York blackout of 1977 didn't happen. We wouldn't have what we have today. That blackout was the gateway, the catalyst to a whole new, not just genre of music, but a movement, a culture, giving the voice to the voiceless for black people, giving them the ability to DJ, to rap, to form groups, to have house parties, giving a voice to the voiceless, like I said, so they can fight the powers that be. Imagine if that didn't happen. And imagine again, coming back to visual arts. Imagine if Keith Haring, Basquiat, or Lee Quinones, imagine if they didn't have the resources they had. Imagine if someone blocked away those opportunities and kept them at the low level. Imagine if someone belittled them because they didn't have enough followers. They wouldn't have risen to the heights that they have. They wouldn't be as prolific and inspirational. And we wouldn't have the wave of new art and artists that came from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if all these tools were gatekept. Imagine how lame and weird and stupid the world of art would be, the arts community would be. I don't want to make this too long, and I hope it's not too long, but I just wanted to get this off my chest, and hopefully this performs well and reaches the right people so that we can have a really nice conversation and we can just expose the crappy people out there that are trying to keep other artists down, their fellow man down, their fellow artists down. But anyway, I do want to go deeper into this, but that will happen at a later date on my podcast, The Art Block, where I'm going to have some friends on, some peers, some colleagues, and we're going to talk about the same things. Also while making art. So if you haven't seen The Art Block, you should check it out. The first 2 seasons are out now. Season 3 is currently in like the early stages of development, but that's neither here nor there. But I'll wrap this up really quick. Gatekeeping, without a shadow of a doubt, is a detriment for all artists. Whether you're at the top, whether you're just starting out, whether you're in the middle, it's a detriment to everybody involved. In order to protect and preserve our community, we have to nurture it with kindness, respect, and most importantly, the exchange of resources. That's the most important part. We can't say we hate capitalism or these evil corporations utilizing AI and other technologies to kind of like weed us out of our opportunities. We can't say we don't want these things to happen, and we can't say that it's hard out here to find work and it's difficult because these corporations don't respect artists, and we are perpetrating the same exact terrible crap to ourselves. That's why I don't like influencer artists either, bro. Like, that's a whole different thing that I'm not going to get into that now. But we cannot sit here and say that we don't like capitalism, we hate capitalism, we want to get rid of it, and then we're treating ourselves and our people and our communities the same way the corporations do, the same way these big companies do, the same way all these big studios do, and they're like firing people and all this stuff. Like, what is the point? I could go on, and I feel like I'm getting a little tight right now, so I'm just going to slow down. I'll calm myself down. But I hope you enjoyed the video. So let me know what you think about gatekeeping. Is it good? Is it bad in the art community? Do you think that there's another way? And let me know who your favorite artist is, favorite visual artist. Who do you look up to? Whose work inspires you? Let me know in the comments below. But until next time, until the next video, stay true. We out.